Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before I get to our guests here today, well, first of all, it's been a long time, but you should recognize our guest. We have Jodi back on the podcast. Last time I looked, it was like mid-September. And by the time this gets released, we'll probably be like in mid to late August. So, it's basically been 2 years since we last talked. It's the longest that I've been in between guests, but she's back on to give us an update on what she's been up to. And obviously with the coronavirus and with her bodybuilding journey, we have a lot to talk about. But first off, Jodi, thank you so much for coming back on.
Yeah, Ryan, super excited to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to have you back on. Well, before we get into everything, what's the weather like in your neck of the woods in your Boston today?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like 86 today. Perfect. A little warm this morning. Went on a walk this morning, but it's like, this is like my kind of weather right now. I love the fall. I live for it, but I love these 2 months. I'm one of those that doesn't even like drive with an AC on.
Oh, yeah. Well, sometimes we needed it here in Minnesota a little bit because it was getting close to like the mid 90s some days. But yeah, the weather today is just rainy here. And, it's not, it was a dreary weekend. So nothing too much was happening here. But it's been 2 years since we talked. And obviously we can see that there's been some changes made. You put on a little bit of size since we last talked. What's this whole journey been
Well,
like for
actually,
you?
that makes me feel really good when you said that. I was like, really?
Hey,
Can you tell? Because
absolutely.
living in this body, you can never tell. You
Oh,
know what I mean? You could say, all right, we're on track or whatnot, but like the whole size thing, like, I don't know, sometimes, like, especially right now, I've been on keto for probably going on 8 weeks. So, of course, you feel flat.
yeah. Well,
But
and obviously it shows you look amazing, but what has this journey been like these last 2 years since we talked when it comes to your bodybuilding?
a wild ride. Like, it's been so fun. I think last time I talked to you was right after the Tampa, and we were talking about maybe trying to get that invite to the Arnold, which we did. And we went there so we only had probably about 3 months in between from August 1st till about, I think we went October or middle of October and started dieting again. So we went right into it, not even 3 months, and then right into another diet. Which was at first, when I got that invite, it was like, holy shit, like I can't even believe like my name's on the list. Like, I made sure that I got that my pro card, like right when I got it, I guess it's first come, first serve based on like the invite or whatnot. So the minute I got my pro card, I got my money out, I sent it in. I was like just cross fingers, like, waiting because in my eyes, me and my coach's eyes, we thought like, top 10 was going to get you into the Arnold, right? So first time at the Tampa Pro, we were like, hey, if we get top 10, we might be able to get like the invite to the Arnold. But little did we know that it was only, they changed the rules that year. It was only top 5. So we were like, we just made it in. So yeah, we started dieting. We went right into it. But to be honest, it was probably one of the most grueling preps I've ever done. I think I hyped it up to be way more. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. And with my job and whatnot, it was at a time which I've never prepped before between December. Like I prepped through Thanksgiving and through Christmas. I got to eat a Thanksgiving dinner very tight and a Christmas dinner very tight. But it definitely was like a culture shock with something that I wasn't used to. And not only that, with like work, I was traveling, like where I work, it's only like 29 miles away from me, but in traffic, it can be like an hour ride. So, and then I'm working like 8 to 10 hours, and to be honest, I just couldn't get my time management together there. The last 2 weeks, I was just scrambling to get cardio done and getting in there for a quick pump because like for some reason, I just couldn't get that time management down, like with the in the car and whatnot. But we managed to, get to the stage and being with those girls, I was like backstage, like, wow, it's like a little fish in a big pond. But it was so inspirational. It was very motivating to like hang with like, and to be with these girls, like to even just be there. But I was on the smaller side. We did end up coming in at about like 129, which we didn't want to do, but it's just how it happened. And I ended up placing, I think, 16th or like 17th. And I think there was like 25 maybe total. So that was it. Basically, we went on that stage and, I think getting the invite to the Arnold, it was great. And I'm so thankful that I was able to get there in 2018, because what happened in now 2019, I mean, I couldn't even imagine if I was getting ready for the show and then 3 weeks before they say, or 2 weeks, oh, I think it was the week of, maybe the week of, they were like, no audience, like you're basically losing the whole experience of the Arnold Festival. And I'm just so thankful that we struck while the iron was hot and we got there when we, because I mean, at this point, it's like sometimes you just got to take the opportunity, even if like, I mean, it's going to be a learning lesson there, but coming back from that, like after that show, my coach was like, Joe, so the goal was to do the Arnold, the first show of the year, and then it was to do the Legion of Sports, which is the last show of the year in LA, Long Beach. And he just looked at me and he said, we got to put more size on. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you have to trust me. Like, we just got to go back. And, I think in between, we didn't have enough time, not enough off season in between the Tampa and the Arnold. I was on a diet for almost 10 months, got off for a little longer, and went back on it. So my metabolism didn't have like a chance to like bounce back, or, so he was like, and the girls are bringing some serious legs and some backs up there. So we really have to concentrate on training this year. Reached out to the head coach, Sandy. I saw her like that morning after pre-judging at the breakfast table. And she was like, Jodi, keep doing what you're doing. She's like, just bring up your back, and we need more thickness and width, and we need bigger quads. So that's what we did. All of 2018, I was in there every day. Remember, I think our last podcast, I think I told you how like my coach was yelling at me that I wasn't in the gym enough, and you got to get more focused. This 2018 is definitely been that 2018 was a definitely different off season, Jodi, for sure.
Were there any different training techniques that you used, or was it just the same thing where you just tried things differently, or how did it differ?
It was more consistency, I think, it's our same training. We do the same stuff, but like every other week, if we do legs, like I'll switch it up. I go down there, I travel an hour and 20 minutes to see my coach once a week. So we'll go down and we'll do legs on the off season. Then the following week would be back, and then legs, and then back. And it would never be like the same exercises. Like we're doing pushes today, or, today will be about squatting. And I mean, we put some definite size on my legs this year. So I'm like excited to like see, because, I'm starting to see everything peel back right now, which is like all that work is starting to show, which is very exciting. So
other than your legs, what do you think is one body part that you've improved on the most in the last 2 years?
My lats, my back for sure, because we needed it wider. Like, it was always like, your waist is not big, but your waist is looking like it's more trunky if you don't have that X factor, the shoulders, the V taper, and the legs. So we were working on those.
Yeah, we can definitely see. Yeah,
I'm ready to fly away.
Yeah, hey, especially in this day and age with the coronavirus, hey, you might have to do that. You never know. But yeah, I mean, have you changed up your posing at all since we last talked? Because posing is always an ever evolving thing.
Ever evolving, always evolving. I work on my posing every day. If I'm not in that, so going back, the coronavirus. So I'm out of work. I've been out of work since March 15th of 2020. And as crazy as this year has been, as insane, or like what world are we living in right now? Like, I mean, I feel like every day you get up, it's like, is it still the Twilight Zone? Like, is it still like, what's going on? With that being said, this coronavirus the time has been a blessing to me, to be honest. I've never had a moment or a prep where I wasn't working, So any chance I get to go back to posing, any chance I get in that mirror all day, I work on it all day, because I feel like that is something that always can get better. Even with my bigger back or bigger quads, like there's still improvement to be made. Like, I feel like, but this time going out, like my goal is to always, when I stand in front of Sandy or I stand in front of Steve again, or Tyler, is that they always say, like, when I come back, that this girl did what we asked her to do. And, like that's always been like what we really want when we do it. So, hey, we'll see. So, I mean, this coronavirus thing has been actually a blessing to me, to be honest.
Yeah, and I've heard that for some people too, where yeah, it's definitely yeah, it just affects different people in different ways. But other than I mean, just the training, one of the bigger things that we always talk about is the nutrition. How has your nutrition changed in the last 2 years as you put on more size?
So I'm definitely eating more. I think I got up to about 162. Um, yeah, I really didn't do much cardio. Got up to like 162, but it wasn't like a, I think the last time was like 158 for me or something. But it wasn't an out of like really out of shape 162, but it was. But I was working a lot on my legs, so I was eating a lot and like my back. So yeah, like now that I started this diet though for prep because we were trying to go into the Puerto Rico Pro. That was the goal. Was the first show out in 2020 for us was going to be the Puerto Rico Pro, and then we were going to roll into the Boston Pro. They just announced the Boston Pro for the first bodybuilding show in Boston ever. I think I don't even know how many years, maybe 15 plus or whatnot, um, professional. So that was just an amazing thing to hear, like it being in my own state, my own like town that's like 15 miles away. So, we were ready, we were going. I was like, December, he wanted me to start dieting January 1. I started dieting December 30th. So, I was ready after being off that year. It wasn't tough, like, because I went into management in my job. So it, it like helped the transition just going to the gym and then learning my other functions that I had to learn at work. But when we were ready, I was January 1 came rolling around. I was like, let me just get there 2 days later, let me just stop everything now and let's go. And then this hit. So
It's just been an interesting time. But what was that feeling like when you won your pro card and they announced your name and you realized, oh my god, I'm a pro now?
my God, I don't know if like the feeling
Yeah.
amazing. I'm hoping to get another feeling like that, like close to it, saying, Jodi, you're number one, you won first place. So I think that would be, the closest thing to winning my pro card would be trying to win a show and, getting that season, that first place spot. So, yeah, I still look back on it some days and I'm just like, wow, like surreal, or like I'll watch a video or, I've actually talked to a guy because, there's a marketing consulting firm called Monethos that is running sponsoring the Boston Pro. And they have a representative that works for him named Rich. And he actually reached out to me because we were doing like some video challenge and they were doing like fun things to keep, the Boston Pro hype up like before they rescheduled it. And he like called me and it like, dude, you're the guy that announced me as a pro. And he goes, I did? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I totally recognize your voice. Like, it was like I went right back there. And he's like, now that I remember, yeah, I go, you said my name twice. So that was like a little eerie and fun to like think back at that.
And yeah, and that's just so cool. And I mean, did when this coronavirus started, did you have any trouble finding a gym to work out in? Because I know a lot of gyms shut down, and a lot of people maybe they had like their own private gyms to go to. Or what was that experience like for you when they announced that everything was shutting down, and you realized, hey, I still got to get a workout in?
Yeah. It was a little nerve wracking at first because, like I said, we were on a roll. Um, and a friend of mine, Derek, like knows a guy up in New Hampshire. So I live about 20 minutes from the New Hampshire border. I'm about 16 miles from Boston north. And then another like 15, 16 miles is New Hampshire, like the border. So there's a guy, two guys that actually own a gym up in Nashua, New Hampshire. They call it the live free or die state. So I don't know if you're familiar with that,
Yep.
but they're living free as there. Like, you know what I mean? So this guy reached out to Derek, and Derek, like being the friend that he is to me for so long, reached out to me and said, "Hey, Joe, there's a guy that owns a gym up in New Hampshire. It's about 27 miles from us. Like, opened his whole gym to any pro that was trying to prep for a show." So, with that being said, I think so. It's Steve Mullins and Eric Langlois of East Coast Muscle in Nashua, New Hampshire. Were like godsends. Like I couldn't even believe it. It was like a speakeasy that um it's like it was different mandatory stuff going on up there, like because everything is so spaced out versus Massachusetts. But, we went up there and I can't even tell you like how grateful and thankful I am for their hospitality. It's a really cool little gym. Like, I mean, I don't know how to explain it. Like, they have pro pictures on the wall everywhere, like all over the whole gym. There's like a really cool feel. Like anyone that was going there was there to do their work and leave, And I'm really thankful to those two guys for. If it wasn't for them, like I don't know. I mean, I had a different mindset this year, and the gym would have been crazy because, like, that week I was reaching out to my coach, like, what do I do? And he's like, we got to do unconventional stuff. So, I grabbed a backpack and put 2 gallons of water in a backpack and started doing walking lunges up my hill. And there's people driving by, probably like, what is this girl doing? I was there like every 3 days, up the hill, down the hill, until this happened. So, I was truly blessed to be able to, keep my head right and, stay on that like hopeful mind train, that things were going to kind of even out or whatnot. But, May rolls around and June rolls around. And then about 7 weeks, they rescheduled the Puerto Rico Pro. And then about 7 weeks before the Boston Pro, they rescheduled it to October.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always found that fascinating because if everything's going to get rescheduled and then everyone knows bodybuilders, they're very specific about dates and times, and this is with, especially if you're in a prep, so that's just evolving. But when it announced that it was going to get postponed or delayed a little bit, were you able to ease up on your prep a little bit, or were you just going still full steam ahead?
No, I did. I called my coach and I go, right when I found out I was at the gym up in New Hampshire, and I was like, I'm stopping to get an ice cream on the way home. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like, I think, like, let's, you know what I mean? Like, now we have to go back to plan B. And everyone was like, but the Tampa and this. And I was like, I'm not doing Tampa. I was like, I'm not going to set myself up for that again. Like, where I was like ready or like getting ready. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I still wasn't ready. Like, my body was being a little stubborn. So, um, I was like, I'm just not going to sit here. Like, I've been on a diet since December 30th. Now I'm not going to be like, all right, let's go into Tampa when you don't even know if we can even fly there yet. You know what I mean? So I put Tampa out of my mind like instantly and was like, let's just go back to Eden. Let's just focus on the Boston Pro, which is in my hometown where I do not have to fly anywhere or go anywhere, and he's put me on, carbs for like 2 or 3 weeks. But then once around July 4th, he was like reeling me in. He was like, we got to go back in keto. Like, if you want to do the show in October, we gotta tighten the reins a little bit, Joe. So
Yeah, and even though, I mean, like you said, you've been taken care of because you're on unemployment from your job, but has there been any worries, or how have you dealt with any of this? Because it's just an uncertain time that we've had so many people that are just, just worried about, what's going to be like next month and such. If have you dealt with any of that?
I don't know who I am right now, Ryan. I have no idea. I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea who this girl is. Um, I feel like this coronavirus gave a lot of people an excuse to give up, which is totally fine. Like, if that's how your survival mode is, or like, don't, I, I, I think like if this happened to me last year or in 2017 or 2018, I probably would have been like, yep, because my coach was having a hard time getting me to the gym 5 days a week. You know what I mean? So I would have given that excuse, but I have a goal in my head that I want to be on that Olympia stage by the time I'm 45. You know what I mean? Like, that is a goal of mine. So it can't change because of all this other stuff that's going on. You know what I mean? You have to stay hopeful. You have to stay positive. Um, for me, I'm just lucky that I have a goal enough that was strong enough in my head to put all this other stuff and just rely on faith in God, to be honest. Like, because I just had faith that I was walking my walk and doing what I needed to do. And the last thing I wanted to do was give up, or give in and be like, oh, well, maybe next year. Like, no, this could be this year if we just, and like I said, like, most people weren't as lucky or as, blessed as I was to have had, you know, the gym reach out to me and I still had the facilities to be able to stay focused.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to take a break from the bodybuilding talk now because it's rare that I have a guest from Boston on to talk about this. And I'm a huge football guy myself. What are your thoughts on Tom Brady leaving the Patriots?
What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? Like you can't have it all like forever. You know what I mean? Like you have your moments in time. Like he's been great for us, man. You know what I mean? He's a stellar athlete, and if he wants to continue at the age that he's at, like more power to you, man. You know what I mean? If he feels like he still has that in him, who's to say like just because you're like 40 that it's time to retire? Like you should be the one making that decision, not all these other jamokes up here. Like oh hey, if you leave, you better retire. And no, like he's probably living his life down there in Tampa, enjoying it. He looks like he's having fun. He got Gronk back. Like, I mean, it's sad to like see the dynasty like that dynasty go, but there's a new one on the way. They're putting a lot into Cam, and
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Well, just
I mean,
count.
with Bill as a coach, like, I mean,
It's not even fair.
there's only up to go. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think he could do it with anyone that has talent.
I'm just gonna say, and count your blessings and enjoy it because being from Minnesota, all four of our major sports teams. I'm 26. My entire life, they haven't even made it to a championship game. All four sports.
It's all going to be worth waiting for. One of these days, it's going to happen.
It's never gonna happen.
Look how long it happened for us with the Red Sox.
Yeah, but think about. Here's what I like to say to that though. People say that's one sport. You guys had the Bruins winning all those Stanley Cups. You had the Celtics winning all those NBA titles.
I know. It's hard not to be like triumphant around here.
Oh my god, I hate it so much. Just because, just once. I don't care. I mean, I would love it if the Vikings were to finally win a Super Bowl. That would be my dream come true. But yeah, it's just, oh my god, it's just a never-ending pit of misery. But hey, every year it's
So
like
you don't want to get jaded either, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you keep winning, it's like you're gonna have sometimes you gotta fall in order to get up again. Like it's like something has to change, like and something new's gotta come in. Like you have to be open to that. Like the only thing that I will say about that whole um Tom being let go from the Pats or whatnot, or decide like where he was going, like it's everyone around you. It's like if you're not like doing something for them, and you know what I mean, and they were all like on the bandwagon, and like everyone's a fan, and then the minute he leaves, like oh you suck, you better retire. Like I hate that. Like this guy has been amazing for us these so many years. Like just let the dude go, let him walk on. You know what I mean? Like people got to change.
It's definitely. I mean, yeah, I love to hear that because yeah, it's good that people are letting them go. But when it comes to your area as well, how has the coronavirus affected other than just restaurants shutting down? Are a lot of things still shut down now, or are the gyms back open? Or
We were a hotspot for a while. We were right there with Jersey. We were right there with New York. Like we were neck and neck, and yeah, everything's so we reopened. Even our gyms are reopened. We reopened our gyms about June 28th, I think. Which I feel really bad for like Jersey, for New York. Like they're not probably opening for the rest of the year. Like Bev's gym up there still like closed, and the mecca of bodybuilding isn't even open. So I really feel for those guys up there. Like, but I'm hoping that everyone in mass, that we do what we're supposed to do, and not socially it's so funny when this whole socially distance thing happened. I'm a jerk though. I can be a jerk, like a funny guy or something every now and then. And I was like, I was doing this whole self-isolation thing before it was the thing to do, before we were being told to do it. So it's like, this is like right up my alley to be able to like hang in with my animals and watch Netflix, but it gets to the point where it's like, you'll want to come back to life. And, those states like New York and California and Jersey, they're really struggling right now. So I'll have to say that, as long as we do the right thing, we wear a mask when we go out, and stay socially distant, we won't go backwards, hopefully.
Well, I'm just going to say, I mean, think about me because I run a podcast where I just talk to people. Think about how social I am and how this has affected me. I mean, I still, to this day, I mean, I'm a big hugger too. So anytime we go out and socialize with friends, I say,
that's the weird
part. I say, I don't care. I'm hugging you regardless. Either you agree with it or not.
Part. Yeah. You have people giving you the fist, or like, now I'm just like, you walk up to somebody and you're like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. No? All right. So now it's like, I think it's created this whole thing as insane as it is, it's definitely created a lot of divide and a lot of yeah, like people
It's just
staying away from each other now and like isolating. Like now that I said like as a joke, being like a funny guy, like, oh, I loved it. Like it really isn't good to be away from like people this much, or this is we're human beings, so we have
especially
to be social.
yeah, especially being single, because I have a ton of friends. All my friends almost are in relationships, and I'm like, and they're complaining about not being social. And I was like, okay, you live with your significant other. What are
Yeah.
you complaining about? Like, it's like, yeah. So that's just a whole
Well,
different
that's a
conundrum.
whole other animal too, Ryan.
Yep.
Watch what you wish for
Oh,
because sometimes you don't want to be stuck with
I've seen some of the best examples of that, and I've seen some of the worst examples of that. So I understand that
this.
completely. Yep.
There's a lot going on in people's relationships too that are stuck together. So
Yeah, some people are forced to live together through this that aren't the most compatible. I'll just say that. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it really is something that I mean, we've never seen anything like this before. This has never been like, hey, you stay in your house and not work and don't go out and shake somebody's hand anymore. And it's like a whole new normal. Like shows with people walking around with masks on, and then people talking about like you might have to wear a mask on stage. I'm like, you insane? Like what? How? Or what's kind of nuts when this kind of all Boston was like coming back to like a little bit of normalcy. And I got off my like diet, had some carbs. I went out with my sister, and my mom. She had like my sister was having like a bonfire or whatever in her backyard every single night, and it was the place to be. And like when I was on the diet, I was like, yeah, but they live like 45 minutes from me. But I decided to go down there one day because it was my niece's like drive-by birthday parade. So I went to the store and I was like trying to like look for like those seltzers that have like zero sugar. They're like a new one out there, like the red, white, and blue. It's called. So I was smearing off or something, and I was looking for them, and I'm like, as I'm looking, some guy comes up to me and he's like, "So, you definitely work out." And I go, I got my mask on, and I'm just like, "No, I don't. I have no idea what he's talking about." And I'm trying to like look for my salsa, and he's just like, "Come on, you're pulling my chain. You a trainer?" And I'm like, "No, no, I'm just here trying to buy some seltzers." Like, like you got your mask on. It's so weird. And then he was cool. Like, and then he walked away. And then I found what I was looking for, and I went to go walk up to the register, and he stops me again, and he goes, "Hey, any chance like I could get your number?" And I'm like, "Buddy, no, you can't get my number." And then I walk away, and I'm like, this guy doesn't even know what half of my face looks like. You don't even know what my teeth look like. You have no idea. Like, we're not going here. Like, we're supposed to stay away from people, buddy. The last thing I'm doing is going on a date.
Hey, this is the perfect time for people with bad teeth or bad mouths because hey, I said this is your time to shine, everyone. So I'd be going out there every day if
I
I had
know.
bad teeth or and just with a face mask. But yeah, is there any date set in mind where they're thinking about maybe reopening the place where you work at, or do they have any dates that are?
So they reopened.
Okay.
My restaurant reopened. But we are a store that so we reopened at the slowest time that you could possibly open. Our summertime clientele is very small because we live in a suburb outside of Boston that is a very like family oriented suburb that everyone it seems like everyone has a summer home. They're either up in New Hampshire, the Vermont, Maine, down the Cape, Newport, or wherever. So it's like a ghost town almost. It's like the sidewalks. And with this coronavirus, I feel like a lot of people left for their summer homes faster than they would have, to like going to New Hampshire or going to Vermont where it's kind of scarce up there. It's not as pronounced. So, um, with that being said, we opened up with just a GM. So we're closed 2 days a week. We're closed on Sundays and Mondays. We're only open from Tuesday to Saturday from 4 to 10 p.m.
Jeez, yeah, that's interesting. And yeah, like we've heard so many times like that too. Like I have friends that still go up to their cabins basically every weekend because that's the only thing to do. So it's interesting, how people are getting through this. But one of the questions that I asked my the viewers on this podcast right after New Year's, I asked them, so what's one body part that you're looking forward to, training the most? And the answers were arms, back, legs, abs, and shoulders, I think it was. And arms won by like 15%. So I always ask all the guests, what's an arm day look like for you?
Oh, so my arm days. So I feel like I have small like my biceps are small. My tricep, more tricep
They're not.
dominant than my
Give us a flex. They're not small. They're not small. Yeah, that's not small,
well,
everyone.
because I've been working on
Yeah.
them, but they were
Mhm.
small. But when I do an arm day with Bill, our arm days consist of a superset always. So it's like everything that we do, it's like 8 reps. Sorry, yeah, 8 reps at like 5 to 8 sets, and it will be tricep pushdowns, and then it will be bicep curls, and it will be non-stop, non-stop. And then we go and we do some bicep curls that are like there's like a different way of doing it that he showed me that you like pull up the bar so it like works on that peak. um yeah, so an arm training day with me is it's always I
Do
feel
you
like
ever
it's
do like the
always
cable curls?
no,
No, yeah. That's
no.
and that's one thing I've tried that and it's not been really that good for me either, but I know a lot of people do that.
It's like you need a lot of like stability with that. Like I feel like there's just a lot of like rigmarole. You know,
I'm 6'3" too, so I'm way too tall for it. It doesn't work
it's
that
like
that good for me as well.
you gotta get in like that. I mean, I like cables for certain things, like shoulders, like you know what I mean, but not for like arms. So like there's like that where you crisscross the
Yep.
cables and you pull them down for like your rear delts. I like that. But like to sit there and stabilize yourself, you know, your core, everything to
Yeah.
and I never could go like really heavy on that, you know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh, yeah,
So
it's almost
I feel like
impossible to. Yeah.
everything I feel like everything that I do with Bill is always like a everything that when I get out of there, I'm all blown up. Like it feels like my muscle is gonna burst through my skin.
And one the most underrated thing of the arm too are the triceps. So many people don't realize that good triceps. I mean, they it's a big illusion too, where it makes it look even better. So what does a tricep workout look like for you?
Same. It's just a superset.
Mhm.
So I did an arm set. So I did chest on Thursday with a girlfriend of mine, and we did chest and tries. And I used a machine that I haven't used in a while because we don't have it at the gym up the East Coast, that push down one.
Yep.
And I did 145 pounds on tricep dips. And I was like, I just don't understand. Like when you don't use certain machines consistently all the time, that when you go back to them, you're like stronger on them because you do other, different techniques and whatnot with Bill. Like since our gym opened up, I've been down to see Bill now like 3 days a week. So I've been driving down there because I mean, what else am I doing? I can get in the car and drive an hour and 20. There's hardly really any traffic anymore. So I've been like taking advantage of the time that I have.
Well, and it's great that you are too, because I know so many people. I mean, one of the biggest excuses that we hear, or that I heard, especially before this coronavirus, that a lot of people give is to not wanting to get in shape. And it's like, oh, I don't have the time, and it's like, well, now is the time where you put up or shut up because everyone has the time. And what
So now it's
advice?
like, to be honest, like I can't even get down on anyone that decided to do that or did that because that was their way of surviving. Do you know what I mean? So I got a guy friend of mine who was like full throttle, like a guy that I work with, full throttle in the gym, thinking about doing like a strongman competition. He like was on a roll, like, and then the corona hit, and then his gym closed down. He didn't have the luxury like I had. You know what I mean? He doesn't have a car. He Ubered everywhere and stuff. So he was eating pie, making, you know what I mean? He makes amazing pies and he drank with his roommates and ate. And now he's back to the gym and he's posting, which I'm very thankful to see that I'm back at the gym, because some people won't go back. So, or probably wouldn't go back, maybe. I don't know if they've gotten like, there's a lot of mental illness and depression out there now because of this. So, for him to like post, oh, I used to, before the corona, I was, squatting or pulling up 400 something. Now it's like 360 or whatever. And it's like, hey, listen, who cares? Like, as long as you're back, your muscle has memory, it's going to come back. Like, keep that positive head where start to like kind of find the silver lining in it. Like, hey, yeah, I drank and I ate. So now I go use that weight that you put on to lift as heavy as you can to build muscle. Think of it this way. If you didn't go through what you went through and you stayed trim, you wouldn't have been putting on much size, which you wanted to. So now you have that opportunity. You know, I feel like the excuse bus, there's always a silver lining or there's always something positive that you can find out of a negative situation or find an opportunity, you know?
I agree totally. And what advice do you have for people that are looking to just get started working out? Because, like I said, if people have so much time, I can guarantee that there are people that just want to get started, but either with like gyms shut down or with gyms barely open. What advice do you have for people just to take that first step? Because I always say that first step is the hardest. And once you take that, I mean, it becomes so much easier.
Yeah, I would get out there and walk. I would go to like a high school track and do lunges up the stairs, like things like that that you can do recreationally if your gym is closed. You know what I mean? Get on YouTube, and there's plenty of people showing you outdoor workouts now or indoor workouts. Like, I mean, there are like so many of them now. You know what I mean? And just take your health seriously. You know what I mean? Even your mental health. Like the more we talk ourselves out of something, the more you're just setting yourself back. You know what I mean? You got to start thinking positive, or like having those positive thoughts, or any negative thought that you have about yourself. You have to change it. It's a mindset, you know? And I just don't want anyone to be like later on in life, like regretting their life going by and them not being healthy, or like something medical coming up, or, like that they could have avoided if they just took care of themselves.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think helps motivate a lot of people is the health crisis and the fact that, especially during coronavirus, where it's been proven that, if you're out of shape, it's vastly more likely to affect you in a negative way. So if that doesn't, give you motivation to get in shape, I don't know what does.
Well, this is the thing though too. My dad had it. My dad got it. Like, I think I actually had it back in January, to be honest. Like, I got belted with something at work. Like, it was 11:30 at night, and I swear it came over me like a ton of bricks. Like, fever, sweats, started to throw up. I had still like an hour left of a shift, and I was just like, "Oh my god, what is going on?" And then I worked the next morning, and I barely, like, I just had to put my head down, headache and everything. Put my head down. And I had to wake up for work, and then he started coughing. I felt like a glass in my lungs, and I'm just thankful. Like, now that I look back on it, I was like, "That's so what that was." You know what I mean? But like, thank God my immune system was like good enough to like kick it out in a week. You know. But my dad is in a nursing home. My father is like 74. He's um, got early onset dementia. He's COPD. He's smoked his whole life. He's a recovering alcoholic, so he's had those issues. Like, but he's been, in a really awesome place for like 4 years. I visit him once a week. Um, and this whole Corona thing happens. And we get the phone call on Easter Sunday that my dad has it. So it instantly was like a slump, like it, like in my stomach, that was just like, holy shit, these people unfortunately in these nursing homes are like sitting ducks, like they're not surviving. So I'm having one of those, out of body experiences where it's just like, oh my god, like my dad's been doing so great, and like him and I's relationship has been amazing for like 4 years. I see him once a week. Like, like we've built a bond like later on in life, and it's like, this is not how I want my dad to, like, this is not how I want him to go out like alone. You know what I mean? Like, all those people unfortunately that have passed away, like a lot of them passed away alone, which is very sad. Like my so in or like, there was like that moment of discomfort where I was just like, oh my god, like the last thing I want is like my father to like die alone, like, you know what I mean? And um he ended up like coming out of the woods, never went on a ventilator, like had a fever for like 1 day. And we're grateful. Like, he tested negative like 3 times in a row so far. He's been like totally fine. So my dad's like probably like, I always say it's like the Irish lung. Like, he's got like that Irish lung. Like, you could smoke it to death and you could still manage to have a long life. Um, where he's strong as an ox. And now I know where I get my strength from, like, cause it was tough, like going there where I had to like see him through a window, you know what I mean? And you could tell he was scared, like, like, what's going on? It's like, hey, we're dealing with like kind of the same stuff out here. So that was a point in my prep where it got a little shaky, but we managed to like keep his head right. Like, hey, dad, we're hanging in there. You got to hang in there. Like, you know what I mean? And we got to see him for the first time, like about 4 weeks ago, about a month ago. We got to sit down with him. I couldn't hug him yet, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I have an aunt who has MS who's in a nursing home as well, and we haven't been able to see her. I think, well, 2 weeks ago my mom went and saw her, but it's just been, yeah, it's just been a crazy experience. But
my heart goes out to your aunt then. Like,
yeah,
'cause, I mean, that's just, it's, and to anybody out there who's parent, like, or someone really close to them that passed away, and from this or whatnot. Like, God bless you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah, it's just like my friends tell me though. It's like, wow, what a time to be alive though. I mean, this is just fascinating. But who knows?
And then, well, this is a crazy thing too. My mom's got like a really good friend who's like in his like late 70s, maybe early 80s, and he was on a ventilator for like a long time,
Wow,
and he came out of it.
wow.
So my mom called me like 2 weeks ago on FaceTime, and goes, "Look who I'm sitting next." I go, "Oh my God, Stan, you're back from the dead." And he can just laugh,
Yeah.
like you know what I mean. But I bet he has like this new like look on life now, because it was like, man, like you were almost on that line, like.
Well, yeah, because they say most people on ventilators, it's like 80 to
And
90% of them are dead.
and he
Yeah,
came up,
basically.
and
Yeah.
he came up, and I know I can, of course, like always say like the craziest stuff, but like it's real life. It's like you're legit like back from the dead. Like you would like touch and go. Like his son was saying like he wasn't gonna like last, and for him to be sitting there next to my mom was like, oh my God bless you, dude.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've heard so many stories like that too, and it's just inspirational stuff. But if we were to talk to you a year from today, we'll talk to you a year from today. We're not going to wait a whole another 2 years. But where would you like to be at in your bodybuilding journey? What are some goals that you'd like to have achieved if we were to talk to you a year from today?
So I would love to have won my first pro show, and of course, like whose dream isn't it to be at the Olympia? It's mine. I mean, so by the time my birthday's coming up, I think a couple of weeks I'll be 44, the young age of 44,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I think I had a goal to try to get on that stage by the time I was 45. So that would definitely be it. I don't know what I'm going to do professional wise right now. I mean, I think the bodybuilding has kept me focused and driven, and it hasn't allowed me to like veer off or like be worried about money. Like, you know, we were very, anyone that was unemployed was gifted with like unemployment money that should have, like put it away. I put it away. You know what I mean? I stashed some money away, but of course there's bills to pay and whatnot. So, I'm just not letting money issues or anything like that like start to creep in, because that's just another way of like taking you out of what you've been working towards.
Yeah, well, and especially with, I believe that once, this settles down, I think the bars are going to explode too. So you'll definitely be able to find something there because
Oh,
once people can go out, yeah, I think it's going to be a free for all for the first couple of months, after there's a vaccine and a lot of people have had it and it showed that, cases are going extremely down. So yeah, that'll be an interesting time. And I always say, this is crappy because this is the one year where Halloween falls on a Saturday, so it's not going to be that fun. I mean, I bet people are just going to leave out like candy outside their front porch step with a hand sanitizer thing with it, where they're just like,
oh,
"Hey,
I love Halloween
take the
too.
candy."
It's like my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah. So it'll be definitely interesting. But is there anyone that you'd like to give a shout out to before we wrap things up?
Yeah, so basically, I'd love to give a shout out to Steve Mullins and Eric Langlois up at East Coast Muscle in Nashua, New Hampshire. I mean, guys, like I wouldn't have made it through this probably as successfully as I have if it wasn't for you guys offering your place to me. So I will truly be thankful and grateful to you both. I'm just thankful to obviously my dad's like nursing home for taking care of him the best way possible and him surviving that and whatnot. And of course, my coach Bill, he's been there with me and taken his advice. Last year wasn't the easiest, you know what I mean? Because it was like I felt like I needed to stay on the roll. But now that like we're seeing the results and everything chipping away now, I'm starting to really be appreciative for trusting the process. And, you know, his guidance has been like astounding to me. So, most people like usually get with a coach and they coach jump, and you know because this guy isn't doing this for you. And I feel like it's like I have those moments sometimes where I'm just like, nah, this is what I should be doing, but it's like he's telling me to do it, so do it. And I respect him so much that I do it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. I mean, I don't have to love it. You know what I mean? But I feel like that's another reason. I feel like if I'm giving or if I'm questioning something, I'm questioning it, not what he's telling me that's going to get me there. So for me to like start talking myself out of what he's trying to make me do, it's like you're self sabotaging yourself. You know what I mean? So to keep coach jumping and thinking that this goes, you got to stay stable with something and trust a process that is happening.
I mean, I cannot tell you how many times we've heard, a coach makes a difference really in a prep. I mean, it just having a right coach, it's just like with any sport where, the right coach can really, change everything. And that's just, and that's just so great. And again, Jodi, I mean, we cannot thank you enough for coming back on. I mean, it took a little while. I mean, I've been, oh my god, I've
Yeah.
just been cranking these away,
But
but
you've
it will
been
be.
busy, and I love it. You have like some great interviews. You've interviewed some great women, man. So
Yeah, I had
it's been
Andrea Shaw.
great.
I had Andrea Shaw on there, and if she ever comes back on again, I'm gonna need to get a new computer screen. That was just absolutely ridiculous.
That's the girl that just won
Tampa Pro,
the
yeah,
Omaha
or the
or the
Omaha Pro,
Tampa.
yeah, that Omaha Pro, yeah.
Yeah. What's her name? Miss. I think like her Instagram name is Miss
Miss Muscle or something like that, like Miss Pretty Muscle or
something.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's definitely she's an up and well, not even an up and comer anymore, but she was, before then. But
yeah,
yeah,
good for her. I mean, these last two shows have been really like hopeful, you know what I mean? Like the Tampa went off without a hitch, and now they're having the New York Pro down in Tampa September 5th. So we're trying to reach for that goal for October 10th with the Boston Pro, but I mean, who knows? Who knows what can happen with the way that Tampa was run, at least if all these other shows start running at the same guidelines that Tim Gardner did and whatnot, and gets the advice, they get the advice from him or whatnot. We should be all right for like the rest of the year.
well, and everyone keep a watch out for the Boston Pro. We'll definitely keep an eye out on that, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck. Honestly, we think you're gonna do great. And at what point are you really gonna start like the real like shredding and the real,
Oh,
you know?
I'm in it
Oh,
right
you're in it
now.
right now. Yep.
Yeah, I started probably about 4 days ago.
Oh, well,
Four
you're
days ago. So
yeah. It's the fun part, as everyone says. Yeah, everyone always loves that. No, it's just this is
well,
where
I've
stuff gets
had
really interesting.
something. I've had something click in my head. So once I have something click in my head like that, like I'm nonstop. And like to be honest, like the condition, I haven't had the best condition I had was the day that I turned pro. With the Tampa, my condition was kind of on. It wasn't like the best. So now my whole thing is getting in there conditioned, you know, to where our standards are going to be. So that's started about 4 days ago. It's 2 hours of cardio morning and night now. So I'm in there just trying to grind as early as I can. Who knows?
Yeah, that's definitely all that dedication right there. But again, you guys, we cannot thank Jodi enough. Everyone, go and give her a follow on her Instagram page down below. I highly recommend it. And this is
Everybody, God bless out there. You, hopefully, you get back to work too.
yeah, hopefully. I don't know. Hey, who knows if everyone starts, donating money or stuff like that. Maybe this podcast, maybe I'll be able to do it full time, and that would be a dream come true. But
Well,
again,
let's
you
start
guys.
asking for a GoFundMe page, bud.
Oh, I've been honestly thinking about that, but I'm at like 4,700 subscribers now, and once I reach
So we
5,000, then I'm
need
gonna start
more.
it. Yeah, well, once I reach 5,000, then I'm gonna start a GoFundMe then for me. So everyone be on the lookout for that. But again, everyone, thank you so much for listening. And this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot, signing out. Have a great day, everyone.